Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Horror Debate. I'm Michael Mandy. He's Rowdy Jeff.
And this week's debate is Bug from 2006, starring Ashley Judd and a whole bunch of other people that you don't know, except for Harry Connick Jr.
Yeah, Harry Connick Jr.
Harry Connick Jr. And what a trippy...
You know what? It didn't really have a whole bunch of people. It only had 4 people in this movie.
What a trippy role for him to take. I kind of dug that, man. He's kind of branching out.
Yeah,
I was looking for a piano the entire movie. He didn't give me one.
Harry Connick, he had tattoos on his neck, and he
looked like he was in shape.
Yeah,
he was a brick house in this movie, man.
He was trying to be a tough guy, a wife beater. He had a wife beater shirt on and everything.
Yeah, you know, he looked good, man. I thought he was trying out for the WWE or something. But go ahead, Mike, give us the plot.
Plot of this film. Well, this is directed by William Friedkin, the guy who did The Exorcist.
William Friedkin?
I wish this film was Friedkin.
William Friedkin. Friedkin, okay.
Plot of this movie is the first 50 minutes is like as the redneck turns. It's basically a soap
I didn't tell you to give opinion. I said give the plot.
Plot is a bunch of people who work in a bar. Ashley Judd is a waitress in a bar. She has a lesbian girlfriend, but she's got an ex-husband who just got out of jail, Harry Connick Jr. And basically, it's a bunch of people whose lives are going nowhere. And all of a sudden, this weird guy shows up, real subtle, real quiet, and he's like, "Well, can I stay here?" And so she lets him stay at this rundown motel she lives at, and next thing you know, he's all paranoid about bugs and aphids everywhere.
But you're kind of leaving. You're jumping from like A to D here, okay? The guy shows up. He comes over with a friend of hers, like one of her lesbian friends, right?
Yeah, he shows up.
I noticed you perked up as soon as that was said, right? The hairs on your head start to stand up a little bit, right?
Hey, so she was kind of cute.
She brings not Harry Connick. She brings the weird dude over. What's his name again?
Michael Shannon.
Okay, good for him. Anyway, so she brings him over to the house or to the motel.
The motel that looks like nobody's been.
And he seems like a decent guy, right?
Yeah, he's at first.
He seems like duh. He didn't seem like a decent guy at the 2-hour mark. I mean, come on now.
Thank God this movie didn't have a 2-hour mark. Thank God.
But what I'm saying is that I was confused. Okay, is the point I'm trying to get to, because I'm sitting there going, now what kind of plot are they going to pull out of this? Because all we were seeing
at the 50-minute mark, still nothing happened.
Well, not just nothing happened, but we weren't really getting down to the nitty-gritty as far as plot goes even until past the 50-minute mark.
They say some movies are slow. If this movie was any slower, we'd have been watching slides.
This is true.
Gosh, this movie was slow.
But you know what? I will say this, though, okay? The acting in this movie was excellent.
Yes, these people acted very well at being paranoid.
You believe you were in that room. You believe you were one of the aphids on the wall watching these people go freaking bonkers.
Do aphids wish they were dead?
No, but apparently you do.
Oh, God.
I gotta say, I was impressed with Ashley Judd, and it seems like everything she does, progressively, she's just getting better and better. She's more believable in her roles. I mean, she does a fantastic job. You can tell she studied this thing, man. She really kind of went off. I mean, and I'm not talking about in a bad way. I think she in this movie it was a good way, because she was supposed to be progressively going bonkers, right?
Yeah.
So this is a fantastic role for her. I think other directors watch this are going to be like, wow, they're going to be impressed with what she did. But that didn't help the movie.
No.
It did not help the movie.
No.
The movie, unfortunately, and now that I know William Friedkin did it, now I know I can put the parallels together, because I'll tell you what, The Exorcist, man, I was...
Yeah, but at least The Exorcist had some moments that you went, wow.
Well, sure it did, but they were all towards the end, and this movie also had some moments towards the end, in my opinion, that made you stop and go, whoa.
Yeah, when Ashley Judd took her top off, and they would... I won't say.
Oh, come on. I got bigger lumps in my oatmeal. Come on.
True.
What are you talking about, Mike?
Well, that's what it is. Whoa, hey, she finally did it.
Okay.
And then, wait, there's the credits.
Okay. But listen, okay? I'm just trying to talk some sense into you, because I know you're hating on this thing, right? You're hating on it. But don't hate on it until you get all the points down, okay? The acting, definitely by Ashley, number 1, was 5 stars. No doubt about it. She knocked it out of the park. The other guy, what's his name? Shannon?
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon, right? Okay. Now, he also did a fantastic job, I thought. He was a little less less fantastic, I would say, than Ashley. But I thought that he did a more than suitable job. Harry Connick also totally believable in his role. For what he had, he did a great job. Now, the only problem I had with the flick, and granted it's a big problem, but the only problem that I had with the flick is that you don't get any plot. You don't get anything. You don't get a something to glimmer on. You don't get anything until past the 50-minute mark.
It's all character development, but the problem is you could have done everything that you had in 5 minutes, but they stretched it out to an hour.
Well, okay.
This is a 20-minute movie that was stretched into
I disagree with you on
minutes.
that. I disagree with you on that just for the simple fact that I don't think we would have been nearly as attached to the characters if they wouldn't have done some of that character development. Granted, I thought it was way too slow, way too long, okay? But we had
way
to have...
too boring.
It was boring in a lot of places, but you had to have part of that in order to care. Now, remember what I've said, Mike, 150,000 times. If you don't care about the characters, you don't care about the movie. The characters are everything in these horror flicks, okay? And honestly, you want my honest opinion? If we would not have sat through the drudgery, the end would not have worked. It wouldn't have worked because you wouldn't be all into the psyche of these characters.
I wasn't into the psyche characters at the end.
You weren't, but what I'm saying is people who are digging this film, and I know there are people digging this film. I'm not one of them so much. You're not one of them at all. But what I'm saying is that if you didn't have some of that development to watch the characters progressively go a little nuttier, okay?
Yeah, it's one of those films where, you watch the people progressively go nuttier and nuttier and nuttier.
Exactly. But you wouldn't have cared if they would have cut it off at like 10 minutes of character development. You saw the drudgery that was Ashley Judd's life. You saw the abuse from the Harry Connick Jr. character, right? You saw the insane...
which enabled her to become partners with this paranoia.
Absolutely. And your wife is kind of in this profession, right? I mean, she kind of does this mental thing, right? So tell us what she said about the flick.
I don't remember. She said it was boring as hell.
Well, no, she did. No, she did. But what she said is that people who are in abusive relationships get enabled basically by anybody. They'll take anybody who's not abusive.
Right. Yeah, like when Ashley Judd freaked out with her best friend for an awful long time, and all of a sudden this guy she meets 2 days, and when the friend says he's nuts, you got to get out of here, she gets mean and kicks her friend out.
Right. So
it's all I've got. He's all I've got.
Okay, so what does that tell you though? That she said
these women are crazy.
No, well, okay, but what she told you was that, hey, this is actually sort of realistic then, right?
Yes.
I mean, it actually makes sense. And as much as we hated to sit there, unfortunately, I think we were, this is the first movie of the night. We do these marathon movie nights, and this was the first movie of the night. It was my recommendation to watch. And the reason being is because, first of all, I mean, you're talking about a movie that was labeled as the most disturbing movie of 2006.
Yeah, a disturbing movie directed by the guy who did The Exorcist.
Absolutely. And I missed that Exorcist part, okay, but now I can see it. I mean, I see, because he does that pacing, that same kind of thing in every movie he does. So I can kind of see that, but I dig it for the simple fact, a little bit, because it is very, very realistic. It doesn't have to be Hollywoodish all the time in order to work, and I think that's what sets this movie apart a little bit, is that it's a different vibe, and it was a vibe we weren't ready for, is what my point was. We were ready to sit down and watch some, slash, kill,
something
bang,
like
boom.
The Fly Part 2, the one with Eric Stoltz in it.
Exactly. And what I'm saying is that because it wasn't that, and it kind of shook us up a little bit, and made you sit there and moan, and made me sit there and kind of smile and go, I'm finally getting back, right? No, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I kind of feel like it's valid just for that it shook up the formula, and it made it different enough to where we sat there and went, holy, you know what, right? I mean, it may have been boring, but in my mind, after thinking about it for a minute, it's like, wow, that is a different style than what we're used to. And anything that shakes up that stale formula, for me, is valid just for that. So a little bit, I'm going to say, Mike, you're a little off on some of it. I know it was a little boring for you. Actually, it was a lot boring for you, but I think it's valid for that a little bit. You know what I mean?
But a lot of people hate in horror movies when the actors do stupid moves and then they get mad at the people.
Yeah.
So I can't get into this film because all they do is stupid moves and stupid things.
Right.
I can't get in, and I know there's people out there really like that, but I am one of those that can't understand. Gee, a guy's abusive to you. Why don't you leave? Why are you saying he's all I've got? I can't relate to that. I can't understand it. So those kind of people tick me off.
Right. Right.
My problem with this film was, seeing a bunch of paranoid people trying to connect paranoia from A to paranoia B, which all of a sudden turns into, I've got egg sacs in my teeth and I'm related to Jim Jones.
Oh, man, I saw your face when that scene was going on, man.
They're just going on and on. I mean, Quentin Tarantino would be proud of the dialogue in this, because these people were talking 400 words a minute, and it just go, and it was getting more outrageous and more crazy, and I was just like, what?
You cannot tell me, though. It's just like music,
What?
Mike. Now, you can relate to this. You can relate to this analogy I'm about to make, okay? Because it's just like music, okay? Dynamics, okay? And you cannot tell me that, I'm just going to leave it at this, the tooth scene, you cannot tell me that the tooth scene was not more effective because of the low dynamics of the first part of the movie, because when that hit, it was like stepping on the gas in a muscle car. Right?
It was like, finally, something's happening.
Well, it wasn't just that. It also felt like, whoa. We're going from 0 to 150 here.
Well, which is what Friedkin did in The Exorcist.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. That's his dynamic. It's just like music, a song that starts out with an acoustic beginning and then goes into some rockin' mode, right? And breaks down into acoustic somewhere in the middle.
I see what you. If something is on 10 the whole time, when you pull it down to 1, it makes it more effective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like I said, I think this guy kind of knew what he was doing. I don't think that we necessarily can bomb it for being different.
What can we bomb it for?
Well, we can bomb it for, it was boring, but again, I don't necessarily think that we were in the mindset to watch a documentary of two people going nuts. Yeah. We were more ready for the Hollywood stylized type movie that Ashley Judd normally does. And this is a different style. You guys have to check this out just for the fact that it's different. And again, don't expect it to be on 10 the whole time. It's going to be on like 0.2 for the first 50 minutes. But if you can sit and appreciate the acting and you can sit and appreciate the characterization, it's not a complete waste of your time. There is actually some validity there.
So how many stars are you going to give it?
In all honesty, Mike, I was thinking about bombing it when I was watching it, just because I'm like, oh man, but then, it took me a little while to appreciate it. This is something that kind of had to settle in a little bit. I'm actually going to give this 2 stars for the simple fact that I thought Ashley knocked it out of the park, number 1. Number 2, the surrounding cast was fantastic as well. Like you mentioned, there wasn't a whole lot of cast in this, but the people that were there were absolute quality, And Harry Connick Jr., I'm not the biggest fan of his music. I mean, my wife digs the guy, but I gotta say,
you're not alone.
But I gotta say, in all honesty, this guy can play a lot of different types of roles. He's very versatile, and I think that says something right there. I was shocked at how good he played this redneck character.
Yeah, when you think of abusive rednecks, Harry Connick Jr. does not come up to the top of my list.
Well, hey, man.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 2-star film in my opinion for that, and also for the fact that, again, it's a different formula. It still works. It's just you got to be patient with it. And if you're patient with it and you take it for what it is, there are several spots in this movie of brilliance, but you have to let it soak in a little bit. It's not something that's just going to be fed to you. Okay?
Yeah, and this is also the kind of film that you have to watch with no distractions.
Absolutely.
You can't have the TV going. It can't be at 4 in the afternoon with kids running around and no. It's got to be late at night.
You have to dive into the world that is Ashley Judd's world.
Yeah, her paranoia.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, if you're going to be a little detached, I mean, I can't see this movie working on HBO.
Oh gosh, no.
I can't see it working because people are going to be like, "Oh man, turn the channel. This is going nowhere." But you have to watch the whole thing as a piece and then let it sink in a little bit.
Yeah. Although I do, the first 50 minutes just were excruciating.
They're brutal.
They could have started it at the 50-minute mark.
It's brutal only because of the fact that, number 1, you can't stand the redneck theme. I know that. And number 2, it is slow. But again, this is paced to their life. Mm-hmm. This is how these people live.
Right.
So you get in that mindset.
Yeah.
That's what he intended. I guarantee you that if we were to interview freaking Friedkin tomorrow, Okay, he would say that this is what he intended to do with those characters.
Well, I want to bomb it really bad, but like you said, Harry Connick Jr. was like, "Wow, that's impressive." Ashley Judd did a great job, and yeah, she even got naked, and it wasn't a body double. Like in the first half of the first half of the movie, it was obviously a body double, but second half, she really showed the goods. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it 1 star.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, I'm Michael Mandy. He's Rowdy Jeff, and we'll talk to you next week at the Horror Debate.